This is your essential question. You will be able to answer this by the end of this slide. How do you name geometric figures? In geometry, the terms point, line, and plane are undefined terms. They do not have formal definitions, but an agreement of what they mean. A point has no dimension. We usually use a capital letter to state a point. It's usually represented by a small dot. A line extends in one dimension. It is usually represented by a straight line with two arrowheads to indicate the line extends without end in two directions. We can name a line two different ways. One with a lower cursive letter. Notice the cursive letter L is located by the arrow. We call that line L. Another way is by using any 2 points on the line. In this case, it is line AB. Notice the notation with the arrows on top of AB. This represents a line. Collinear points are points that lie on the same line. Notice in the word collinear, it is co-line, collinear. A plane extends in two dimensions. It is usually represented by a shape that looks like a table or a wall. However, you must imagine that the plane extends without end. This is the most used picture, a parallelogram. Just remember, it does go on forever. Coplanar points are points that lie on the same plane. Notice in the word, it has coplane, coplanar. Notice on this plane, there are 3 points, A, B, and C. Notice if I connect those dots, they would form a triangle. We can always name a plane by any 3 points that are not collinear. That means they could draw a triangle. The other way to name a plane is a capital letter with no point next to it. It's usually located in one of the 4 corners. In this case, it is an M. We use a capital letter to represent this name. So this is plane M or plane ABC. All planes, again, are formed by 3 non-collinear points. Now use the diagram to give 2 other names for line BD and for plane T. If you need to, pause the screen to give yourself more time. The other name for line BD is DB. Notice it still has the arrows on top. And the other name is line M with a lowercase m located by the arrow. The other names for plane T are plane ABE and plane BCE. Notice we did not use ABC. Now name 3 points that are collinear and name 4 points that are coplanar. Again, if you need to, pause the screen. The 3 points that are collinear are A, B, C because they all lie on the same line. So they are collinear. The points A, B, and C all lie on the plane T. So they are coplanar. Now notice we did not mention D. That's because if you notice line M, there are dots by point B. This is because this line is passing through plane T at point B. So it's kind of like it's going through and D is either at the bottom of the plane underneath it or on top of the plane. Now in geometry, terms that can be described using known words such as point or line are called defined terms. So consider the line AB. The line segment or a segment is a defined term. It's symbolized by just a line segment symbol with no arrows. It consists of all the endpoints, A and B, and all the points between A and B. So your endpoints are A and B to create line segment AB. Now the ray, it's symbolized by just an arrow. It consists of an initial point. That initial point in this case is A. Notice it starts the ray in the symbol, and it also starts the ray in the picture. This saying that it's starting at A and passing through B but continues forever. Now remember, we said that line AB can also be put backwards, line BA. Well, the same thing with a line segment. We can name a line segment AB or backwards BA. However, a ray cannot be, because the initial point, the first letter, tells us where it's beginning. The second letter tells us which direction it's going. Notice the notation, though, is still an arrow to your right. That never changes. The only thing that changes is the first letter. So in the bottom picture, the initial point is B. So that means it's starting at B and continuing, passing through A in that direction. Now if C is between A and B, then C is the initial point, and we have two rays going in opposite directions, CA and CB. That means they are called opposite rays. Opposite rays always form straight lines. Like points, segments, and rays are collinear if they lie on the same plane. Same with two opposite rays. They are collinear, but they also have to be on the same plane. So segment, rays, and lines are coplanar if they lie on the same plane. Now use the diagram to give another name for line segment PR. If you need to, pause the screen. Just like the line, we can also go backwards using RP. Again, it uses the same notation without the arrows. Now name all the rays with endpoint Q. Which of these rays are also opposite rays? If you need to, pause the screen. The rays with endpoint Q are QP, ray QR, ray QS, and ray QT. They all start with the initial point Q. The pairs of opposite rays with endpoint Q are ray QP and ray QR. The other pair is ray QS and ray QT. Now, two or more geometric figures intersect if they have one or more points in common. The intersection of the figures is the set of points the figures have in common. Now look at the diagram at the right. Notice you have two planes. Plane B, because B is in the corner with no point. Plane A, because A is also in the corner with no point. They are intersecting each other. Notice the line PQ. Which plane do you think it's on? It's only on plane A. It's passing through plane B. Look at line K. Which plane do you think that's on? It's on both planes. How about point M? It's also on both planes. So now let's read the questions and answer them. Again, if you need to pause any time between, please do so. Name the intersection of ray PQ and line K. It's point M. Anytime you have two rays intersecting, two lines intersecting, two line segments intersecting, or any combination, it will always be a point of intersection. Now name the intersection of plane A and plane B. It's line K. Line K, remember, is on both of them. That's why we could never name those two planes by any points on that line. Now name the intersection of line K and plane A. It's also line K. Anytime you have a plane intersecting anything, it will always be a line because a plane, remember, is two-dimensional and it goes on forever. Now this is where we're going to stop for the day. When you come to class tomorrow, we will work on point, lines, and planes as well as begin our next lesson, which is on congruent segments.